Hi, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started with this first Master Your Mind session out of a series of at least four. Oh, hey, Lori. How you doing? I'm just getting started. I have a recording going, so just jump on in. Um, Hopefully you can hear me okay. If you can't, give me a text, but I can see that you're on. But I was just getting ready to switch over to my share, but I want to thank you so much for coming. I'm not real sure how this is going to play out. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I finally decided I just have to get it on my calendar and do it. So that's what we're going to do. We'll see how it works. Hey, Lori, how you doing?
Hi.
Thanks
Can
so
you
much
hear
for
me?
jumping on.
I'm excited to learn.
Oh, I know you always seem to be. Okay. Now there is a mute button somewhere on your end whenever you want to hit it. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to try to go head over to my share. Okay, there we go. I have all these different things popped up, so I have to move things around to be able to see it. Okay, I want to hit my slideshow. I'm going to minimize myself a little bit more. Okay, I want to pop that up, but okay, there it is. Okay, there we go. Hello, is it there? Come on, PowerPoint. There it is. Can you see that PowerPoint okay? Lori?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
Okay, good. So what we're doing, I can't look at that right now. What we're doing is we're actually, let me find, oh, here's the book. We're basing everything we're doing on this book by Deb Erickson, Get Out of the Rut and On with Your Life. I absolutely love this book. It's an easy read, but it's packed full of stuff, really good content and good activities. So what I did is I've gone through each, the first maybe two chapters, I think, maybe the first three, not maybe for two. Anyway, and just pulled out some things that I thought were really interesting and that we could talk about. And right at the very end, there's some activities. Now, my goal is to meet every Sunday, at least for 4 Sundays. I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to get through the book. One Sunday, I don't know if I can do it live, so I may just have a recording that Sunday, but we'll talk more about that at the end.
Okay.
So, Deb Erickson's book, Get Out of the Rut and On with Your Life. I actually had the opportunity to see her when did I go see her? In the spring. It was awesome. It was like I was meeting a rock star for the very first time. It was kind of great. She's a little short woman, a little bit shorter than me. So let's see what this is all about. So this is a little bit, again, this is the first chapter. A lot of this are her words. I'll just throw in my opinion whatever I feel necessary. But if you find yourself repeating the same things over and over and over, then this is where you really need to be, because it's going to help change those patterns. But I first want you to think about, where do you find yourself right at this moment in your life? Are you repeating the same patterns? Are you engaged in negative thinking? Just kind of think in your own head where you are at right now and maybe where you want to be. And we've probably heard of this definition of insanity in the past. It's doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. I mean, we all get caught into that rut, that same pattern of thinking over and over again. And we really don't even realize that we're out of it. That we're in it and we really need to be out of it. So we have to stop the insanity, try to get different results, and try to get different thoughts going through our head, adopt different beliefs, reach for different feelings, experiment with some different strategies, and become someone different. That's the only way we're going to move forward and actually achieve some different things, some different goals. So as a student, you know, this is just some things that she suggests to stay open-minded, you know, be a student, meaning, you know, be willing to learn, which you obviously are, you wouldn't be here. Commit to taking your game up to the next level. That's her goal, is to bump people up to the next level. She likes to have people think that they are a 10. So that's always her goal, to get people up to the feeling of being a 10. So this is where I'm sorry I didn't put it out sooner, but to have a 3-ring binder if possible. And she's going to give us different activities to put in these different sections. So here's mine. I just always have a habit of using an old binder that I've had from somewhere. This is from First Federal. I don't even think that's a bank anymore. But I just have a ton of 3-ring old binders that, you know, I've had for years. So I just use it, put a little bit of a cover on it, and then my dividers are in there with paper ready to go. So the dividers, or the tabs, are going to say thoughts and impressions. That's the first one. Activities is the second one. Your joy journal is your third tab. This stuff works. That's your fourth tab. And self-talk is the fifth tab. And if you don't have it right now, that's fine. Just see if you're serious about going through these activities, you're going to want to get that in the next couple of days. So let's see. She does suggest that we take an IQ test, and that's right on her website, deberickson.com. It's a real short one. I'm going to, let me see if I could jump over there. See if I can do. I had it set up. Let me see if you can see it or not. Nope, that's not it. That's not the one I want, but I can get there. Crap, there it is. Okay, now can you see that? Or no? Because sometimes,
Yes.
okay, good.
Yeah.
So that leadership self-assessment test, oh, I see what's happening. So if you don't click on it, then it jumps to her regular website after 19 seconds. So I did want you to see that. That would explain why it's never there when I want it. Okay, let me go back over here. I can find it again. There it is. Okay. So this is, you know, it's just for a personal awareness. That's all the quiz is. It's nothing hard. And it only takes 3 minutes. So just go ahead and do that at some point in the future, in the next couple of days, and see what you come up with. Okay, we don't need to, oh yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the activities. She said, just take what you want out of it, you know, leave the rest behind. If you're not resonating with some parts, then just don't worry about it. Nothing needs to be rushed. Nothing needs to be forced. Just allow everything to unfold in a graceful, gentle way, and just have fun with it. So the activities and exercises are designed to just walk you through a very specific process. One builds on top of another one. So kind of do them in order as they're presented. Some activities are going to take more time than others. Some will be done really, really quick. Some might be really easy. Some might take more than one setting. You know, you might start it and have to finish it at another time. That's okay. Just do them when you can and in the way that you can. So the thoughts and the impressions tab, I'm going to back up. No, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to leave it right there. The thoughts and impressions tab is where you're going to write anything and everything you're thinking about as we progress. So just jot down whatever's in your head about what's you're learning or what's taking place as you move through the activities. The joy journal, every day she suggests you write something joyful. You know, what are you happy about? What are you grateful for? What do you appreciate? You know, just write something down, maybe 3 things every day, maybe 5 things every day, but get in the habit of creating a joy journal or a gratitude journal. I've been doing a gratitude journal for years. So every night before I go to bed, I write, it's just a small notebook, so I write several pages of things that I've been grateful for that happened that day. So she's just trying to help you create a habit. This stuff works in that section. This is your evidence section where you're going to record things that happen that are a match to what you're learning. So when you start to notice things taking place in your life, you can go and jot it down in that section because things will start to happen. You're attracting things, you're thinking certain thoughts that might be bringing certain things into your life, and she wants you to write that down to prove to yourself that it's all happening as she says. And then in the self-talk section, this is where you can record positive mental pictures, verbal statements that affirm your greatness, which sometimes we struggle with that. You know, oh, affirm my greatness. But, you know, give yourself success stories, things that are going to make you realize that, hey, yeah, I'm a, you know, pretty decent. I do have some value in this world. So we want to change our talk from negative self-talk to a positive self-talk. And that's where you would put it. Okay, so now we can talk about the powers and the pitfalls of the mind. So she does compare your mind, your brain to a computer. The way it processes information, the way it connects things, the way it uses images. So you might be okay with that analogy and you might not, but that's what we're going to go with during this particular session or in her particular book. So she's asking that we imagine ourselves, you know, we're sitting in front of our desk, which I am, our desktop, and we're looking at a computer screen. So I have a little picture of a Windows computer screen there with all those little icons on it. And she asked that you imagine clicking on one of those icons and you know what happens. Well, the program opens up or the file opens up and you can see the content or the program that that icon represents. So everybody has those little icons in their brain. Okay, if she's comparing our brain to a computer, our brain as a computer has these little icons that we click on depending on what experiences are going on. So everyone who has had access to you, I'm sorry I chopped that off a little bit, over your life has been stuffing things in your little folders. Okay, whether they're good or bad. And when something happens that makes one of those folders open up, then whatever's in there is now visible and maybe unraveling in your life. So that would be parents, teachers, your peer group, culture, society, where you live. All of those experiences have been inputting things into your files your entire life, which can be very scary in some instances. But your brain has been making note of them. It's been labeling them. It's been sorting things. It's been filing all of those experiences away. 24 hours a day. So you have a physical experience. You have your 5 senses have recorded this experience and brought it into your body, into your brain, and your brain has to evaluate what those messages mean. And if you need to take some action. So, you know, do you have to take some immediate action or can you just file it away for future reference? So your brain is constantly making these split-second decisions all the time, constantly. You know, like, what is this? Is this important? Is this something I need to deal with right now? So your brain is constantly sifting and sorting to determine if that particular experience is critical for your survival. You know, your brain is your survival tool. It's trying to protect you at all times. So she gives a real quick example of if you're a little kid and, you know, you're running around by a campfire and you see those pretty red coals and you reach down and you touch them. Okay, so what's going to happen? You touch them, the nerves endings send things, the messages to your brain, you pull back, you start crying, it's painful, it's a bad experience. So your brain immediately registers, oh, fire burns, you never want to have that experience again. So it's going to file that and store that experience in a file. And that's going to start to become a belief of yours. Fire burns. Maybe fire is bad. Stay away from fire. So that starts to become a belief in your brain. And you may start to be fearful around fire. And as you grow up with that fear, you may not even know where that came from. That might have happened when you were 2 and you don't have any recollection of it. But once that belief has been created and your file has been labeled, your brain is continuously, this is interesting, is continuously searching for evidence to confirm and strengthen that belief. Okay, so it's always searching for more evidence to strengthen and confirm that belief, that file, that experience. It actually will ignore anything that contradicts a new belief and it will actually, let me see what my next folder is. Okay, here we go. My next slide. So it does sift and sort. It's looking for the information that's going to help you survive. But sometimes it makes the wrong conclusions, and we might mislabel those files. You know, something that we thought was fearful at that moment in time might not really be a fearful situation or a fearful experience, but our brain doesn't know that, so it may mislabel it as a negative, fearful experience. And then that will run with us our entire life unless we decide to change it. To me, that's pretty fascinating. This is funny too, that our mind sometimes just makes things up because it's trying to match that belief that it has already created. And so it's always searching for confirmation and evidence that what it registered is true. So it will start making things up, which is kind of crazy. Your mind cannot stand not knowing something. So it's always searching. It's always looking. So it just starts to make things up to fit into whatever that belief is. That's just crazy. So when it's looking for an answer and it can't find one, it makes something up, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. So it grasps onto these illusions and it calls it fact. And once your brain does that, it's committed to that fact, whether it's true or false, for life. That false fact becomes your belief system. And when you really think about that, that's just like crazy. So these things that have happened to us from, an infant on up, our brain has been labeling one way or the other, and we might not even have a clue what has happened. Well, we don't have a clue what's happened in those early years. But your brain is creating these beliefs that it calls fact, even though they're really not. That's huge. That was really, really huge for me. You have any comments on that?
This is really interesting
This is.
that your brain will make something up in order to try and understand something.
Yep. It's scary is what it is. In my mind, it's scary.
Yeah,
That
because
it,
like with the fire thing, you find out fire doesn't work. So because it's bad for you, so it's like all of this other stuff your brain is making up could be bad or could be good.
yeah, or it could be just neutral.
Yeah.
You know, like a dog. You might have got scared by a little dog when you were 2 year old for whatever reason, because it was barking loud and it was right at your level, you know, or something. And so for the rest of your life, you're afraid of a dog or dogs, and it's not really a rational feeling. It's not a rational fear, but your mind had been making things up and piecing all these things in your file for years and years and years.
And I like to think of it as a little filing cabinet.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just so weird when you realize your brain makes things up. It's just like a mind blowing piece of information. Like, oh man, how much stuff has my mind made up for me all over, you know, all these years, and I've been living according to something false that my mind just made up. Yes.
Not only that, too, it's like, what if you're talking to someone and their brain makes something up and they completely and totally believe it's true, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not, and you know it's not, but their brain is like, it's true.
Exactly, because it's basing on their previous files, their information from their previous experiences. Yeah, it is absolutely crazy. The vast majority of that programming happens before the age of 7. So I think it's in here, but it might not be, that like 80% of the what we think is subconscious previous programming that we really don't even know was programmed into us based on these mislabeled files. 80%. And under stress and emotional upheaval, we go back into that 80% and start acting on that, you know, false facts or those beliefs that were probably made up at some point. So society and culture, you know, it programs us as well, you know, so we can fit in and live a life comfortably. So we kind of, you know, take on some stuff that society expects of us, which may be true and may not be true. So much of who we are today was programmed into us during those formative years when our brain was downloading and accepting without question the beliefs of others and then making those beliefs our own. I did share a story with a group of women earlier in the year that when I realized that some of the stuff that I had been believing and acting upon was not my stuff. It was actually my mom's stuff, my parents' stuff that they had believed, but I just picked up on as a kid. So I just played out in my life. And when I actually understood that, like a light bulb went off once, like, oh my gosh, that's not even my stuff. I mean, it was just like really, really freeing. And I was like, oh, I can give that up and I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to think that way anymore. I can choose how I want to think or how I want to feel about that particular topic, you know, or that experience. But that was a huge revelation for me. That happened maybe my late 30s, possibly right around there. But that was a really enlightened moment for me in my life. So our brain's operating system, who's creating all these files, it's filtering our life experiences. It's defining our life experiences, and it's filing those away.
Mm-hmm.
And our decisions are made on those. So this is an interesting thing. Let's go here and see. Okay, so we have some flawed files. If we had a bad experience, your brain labels it with a big warning sign, you know. Bad, bad, warning, don't go there. And it thinks it's fact. So she brought up an example of singing. You have a file called singing. Okay, so you have this file called singing, and say in, I don't know, 4th grade, you had to get up and sing something in front of people. Well, it didn't go well, and maybe your teacher made a comment like, you know, oh, just go over there and just mouth the words, but don't really sing, you know, or something. Or maybe somebody laughed at you or something. Well, that all of a sudden that file that's called singing gets labeled as bad, negative, warning, don't do this again, because your brain's trying to protect you. So what your brain does, okay, it was just one experience, maybe it lasted 2 minutes, 1 2-minute experience that your body and your brain did not find comfortable. It got labeled, filed, sorted. Your brain decided as a fact that you can't sing. Well, if you look at this picture, that file starts to connect to other files. Okay, connects to emotions that, like, so all the emotions in these files all get interconnected. Mm-hmm. So like that sing file that you can't sing, over time gets connected to a file that says like you can't open your mouth in public either. Like you can't speak in public because somehow the files got interlinked. So these files will start to just branch out and start connecting to other files. So it's not just one file involved. All these other files are interconnected and they start, you know, feeding into each other or feeding off of each other, maybe would be a better way of saying it. They carry the same emotion and the same energy as that first experience. That's why it's so tough to figure out where some of your fears and beliefs come from, because your brain has linked to so many other files over time that it's hard to backtrack and figure out where the starting point was. But the good news is that you can go back and rewrite and reconnect or break those links or those connections in a more positive way. Now, the files cannot be deleted because your brain doesn't understand negative commands. Like if you say, don't think of a pink elephant, don't think of a pink elephant, don't think of a pink elephant.
And that's exactly what you're going to do.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. So you can't do that. So your brain is powerful. It will give you whatever you want. So if you say, don't think of a pink elephant, then that's what you're going to get. So we just have to be mindful of the fact that our brains are very, very powerful. Let's see. So once the file is open, it does become active. And so like if you have a debt file, like you're in debt and you need to get out of debt and you're talking about debt. Oh, I got to get out of debt. I'm in so much debt. But what's open is your debt file, which is a negative file, and it stays open and you can't operate in an abundant file, an abundant mindset when your debt file is open. Whatever you focus on, you're going to get more of the same. So we have to figure out how to refocus our brain onto another file. And your mind never shuts down, and it can only focus on one thought at a time. So it might be jumping from thought to thought, but it can only focus on one thing at a time. It's constantly in motion. She has said many times, because I listen to Deb Erickson a lot, that women's minds think about 85,000 thoughts a day. So a woman can think 85,000 thoughts a day. Men only think about 65,000 thoughts. So we won't go into that discussion. That just kind of, can explain a few things. Okay. 85% of the thoughts we think today were the same ones we thought yesterday. So it's the same thoughts we're bringing forward each and every day, each and every day. That file's open, it comes with us and open, it stays open into the next day. And some of these thoughts have been running through our brains for years and years and years. I'm not good enough. That's one of mine. I'm not good enough. I'm not good. That's been running through my brain since I was young. I mean, I've done a lot to break that and repattern that, but it still comes through. So we want to be mindful and aware of what those thoughts are that are constantly going through our brain. We call that mental chatter, and we all have that. We want our mental chatter to be positive, not negative. So here's one of our first activities. She does give us quite a lot of activities in these first couple of chapters. So this is going to go in our activities tab. And she wants us to start looking at some of our past files. Because if you don't know that they're there, you can't change it. Awareness allows you to change things. If you're not aware that something's going on, then you can't repattern it or stop it, interrupt it, or change it into something better. So she says, imagine this as if your files have been opened up, you dumped it all over the floor, and it gives you a chance to actually see what was in there. So in your activities section, in your folder, you're going to just focus on one negative file, just one. Debt, fear of dogs, fear of speaking in public, whatever. We all have a billion of them. But you just want to focus on one, even though you're, maybe one that, is a real trigger point for you. That might be a good starting point, or one that's very not too emotional for you. And, that'd be like a softer way of digging into it. And she even suggests money. Everybody has a money file that could be full of a lot of negative stuff or could be full of a lot of positive stuff. So what you're going to do in this first activity is you're going to write down everything you thought about that particular topic or that particular file or that particular feeling. All the mental chatter that runs through your mind. So, put right at the top of your page what that file is that you're going to be talking about. And just think of it as a brain dump. You're just dumping everything you can think of on paper about that particular file. So she mentions a money file. So she suggests, everything that your parents told you about money, everything you can remember that you learned about money, everything you've read, everything that you thought in school or you learned in school or when, you were dealing with their lunch money, things that you've seen on TV. So just brain dump as much as you can, good and bad, about that particular topic, just so you can see what it is your brain was thinking about or has stashed in that file. What are the subtle messages you hear, like when you're window shopping, like, oh, I wish I could afford that. Oh, only rich people can get that, or blah, blah, blah. Dump it all down on paper. Don't question it, just write them down. So this is, again, going with the money example. Oh, there's never enough. Money's the root of all evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. I kind of remember that from my childhood. I have done the money thing a couple of times, and I don't remember a whole lot being said about money, but that is something in and of itself. You know, we never discussed money growing up in my house. Never. Uh, let's see. So some negative brain dump ideas again for money would be, you know, I'm always broke. I'll never get out of debt. I barely make enough to get by. It's all the government's fault. So those are just things that she's throwing out there as an example to throw in your brain dump. And, you know, that could take you as long as it needs to. You might just at this point just at least put down the file you want to deal with or you want to softly look at. And we're not going to like take the time to really get into it right now, but just kind of get your brain thinking of what you can do either when we're done or, you know, later tonight or tomorrow. I would do some of this stuff. What I like to do, I should say, is do this stuff as soon afterward as possible so that it's fresh in my mind and I'm already in that mode of thinking. So I will probably do this stuff tonight just to get it out of my brain.
I'm typing notes on my phone and in my notebook. So.
Oh, good. So the second activity, there's two parts to it. And so this is going to go, I guess it still goes in that same section. She asked that we write out our own personal story that has impacted that file. Okay. So if you're talking about the money file, you know, you might want to say that you've always had trouble getting money, handling money, believing money was something you could get. You know, write out your personal journey with money and how that's manifested in your life. If you're writing about the file that says dogs are mean and scary and can hurt you, you might have a personal story about how you've always, you know, run away from dogs and, you know, could never pet a dog. You know, you would just write out some paragraphs about your own personal experiences with that file.
That's so funny you mentioned that because my cousin, she's 6 years younger than me. But when she was born, my aunt and uncle had the cutest little fluffy dog that couldn't hurt a flea. And then when she passed away, for some reason, all of a sudden, my aunt was afraid of dogs, or my cousin was afraid of dogs. So every time she sees a dog now, she's afraid of it. But we can't figure out why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some of that file connecting going on that the brain has linked together, and you know, you can't really probably figure it out unless you know, maybe go to a counselor or something. But and do you know, sometimes I always wonder, like, do you have to figure it out or do you just have to acknowledge it? You know, you have to
just
decide
go,
for
okay,
yourself.
I've been working on this for like 20 years. I'm fine. I don't need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not hurting anybody.
Right. But it is light. It lightens your energy when you can figure something out and say like, oh, okay, I get it now. You let it go, you know, move past it. So that's part one. Just again, get that out on paper. You know, this is going to help you figure out what shaped your beliefs about that particular topic. And then part two is to go back, review your story, your personal story, and see if you can figure out any themes or any patterns or anything that, you know, resonates with you and is a revelation to you. And, you know, did you interpret them? You know, as a 2-year-old, you're going to interpret things differently than you would as a 25-year-old. It could be the exact same experience, but you interpret it different because of your size and, you know, all that. So she's asked that we write out any beliefs you might have picked up along the way based on your personal story that your brain created and made up.
Kind of like, what would you tell your 25-year-old self now since you're 44 type of thing?
Right. That's a good way to approach it as well. So that's activity number 2. So activity number 3, we're using that same information that we've already written out. So we're not, writing anything new. We're just going to kind of like go back and look at it and try to give an emotion to it. So you have your list of thoughts. You have your personal story. You might have a list of beliefs, or you might not. You might have your themes or your patterns. You might have just, one pattern you picked up, whatever, however it comes out. There's no right or no wrong. But she wants you to ask, does this thought limit me or empower me? So you're starting to analyze, the emotions attached to that particular thought. So if it has a negative emotion, you put a minus sign by it. If it has a positive emotion, you put a plus sign by it. And this is an interesting phrase in the parentheses there. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Just what emotion does it bring up? Does this thought move me closer to my dreams or further away from my dreams? Does it fill me with fear or does it make me feel confident? Does it make me feel hopeless or hopeful? So those are just a different way of saying the two opposite ends of the stick. Is it, a positive feeling thought, limitless, or is it a negative, limiting thought or feeling? So once you do that, then she, gives you like a little scoring system. So you get 1 point for every empowering thought, and you take away 1 point for each limiting thought. And all this is basically getting you to do is where you spend the most of your mental time. So after you added up all your positive thoughts, and I'm just going to say you got a 12, and added up all your negative thoughts, your negative limitations, let's say, and all your minus signs, and you got a 20, then all that's showing you is that you spend a lot of your mental energy on that negative side. And that's just an awareness, something that you need to, we're going to start breaking those patterns and those beliefs and creating something new to replace them. If your positive number was higher than your negative number, that's just telling you that you're doing pretty well. Your positive mindset is pretty strong and you got some pretty good patterns going on there. So it's just helping you identify where you spend the most of your mental time and where your energy is. So it's, this is just for you. You don't ever have to share it with us. I thought maybe next week we could possibly go back and share some of this, but you can or you don't have to. It's totally up to you. It's just an awareness activity. Then we have an activity 4, and this is the last activity. So this is going to, we're going to write categories. I want to make sure I can explain it well. So you're going to, at the top of each page, so you're going to have a couple multiple pages involved here. And you're going to have 1 page for each one of these categories. So 1 page for my job/career, whatever you're in, a job or a career. 1 page for my body and health. 1 page for your love life or your relationships. 1 and your family. That's all grouped together. So any type of relationship. 1 page labeled my finances. And then we're just going to, again, brain dump. We're just brain dumping and just put down what you're thinking about that particular category. So what thoughts and beliefs do you have on each one of those categories? Good or bad, don't judge. Just put down whatever comes to mind and maybe dive a little bit deeper. After you put a couple and you can't think of any more, see if you can go a little bit more. So there's no exact number you have to have listed out. Just maybe your finances are going to be huge and your body and your health might just be a few sentences. So it doesn't really matter how much you have, how much content you have for each one, just whatever comes out. So the same thing as the previous activity. You're going to go back and put a plus sign for positive statements, negative, a minus sign for negative statements. Again, you're just going to find out where you're spending most of your time, in a positive mindset or in a negative mindset. So it's just a self-awareness activity again. There's no judgment from anybody. It's just where you're standing at this moment in time. You know, maybe a week from now, it would be different for you. You would maybe put down some statements that are a little bit different depending on what's going on in your life. But just for today or the moment in time when you do sit down and do this activity. And this is a quote that's right at the end. This is the end of the chapter by Napoleon Hill. And Lori, I know you love quotes like I do. Our brains become magnetized with the vibrations of our thoughts and mental images. These magnets attract to us the forces, the people, the circumstances of life which harmonize with the nature of our dominating vibration.
Little tidbit, Trivial Pursuit type of thing. The Beach Boys, their song Good Vibrations is actually wrote based on people giving out vibrations.
Oh, yeah?
We all give out vibrations.
We do. We do.
And there's that song, because Brian Wilson is, he's not really an empath, but he's very, very sensitive to other people. And he was constantly feeling vibrations from people.
Oh, wow.
And
how cool is that?
That's why they wrote that song, or he wrote that song.
I never knew that. That is so neat to know.
I dated someone who was a huge Beach Boy fan. I know more about the Beach Boys than I probably do my own favorite band.
Because of this person, huh?
Yes, because I mean, he just rattled everything off about the Beach Boys and stuff. But yeah, that is one of the things. Good Vibrations was written based on our vibrations coming out to other people.
Right. And some of us have vibration and energy signature that goes out a lot more than other people do. But people will feel your vibration when you walk into a room way before they'll know anything about you. So that's probably something we really have to remember. So like, especially in our business, when we go to approach somebody or, you know, whatever, we have to remember that what's that vibration we're sending out before we even get to that person, you know?
Right. Kind of like getting into their personal space, you have to know.
Exactly. So it's good to like rev yourself up before you go into a particular situation. Sometimes I can do that and sometimes I can't, you know, it just depends on the day. But so that's all I have for you today. I really had no clue how long this was going to take, and I didn't want to try to pack in too much stuff. So maybe I will try a little bit more for next week and get a little bit more in there. But I wanted to, you know, get to a stopping point And I gave a lot of activities for you, so I didn't feel like I wanted to go too much past that. Like the next time there's just 2 activities. So this is probably the most activities was what we had right here. So I did want to point out that next Sunday, same time, same station, I'll be here, and I am recording things so that what I might do is just send the link out. I'll put it on that event page for people who might wanted to be here but who could not, if you're okay with that. And then October 14th, I will be in Reno. I'm not sure if I can do it live because there's a 3-hour difference there. 7, 6, 5. So it'll be 4 o'clock there, and I don't know ever what we're doing out there. So I may just record it and post that link that night, and you could just watch it on your own. Okay? But then the other ones I should be here for, and it would be live.
Okay. Do
So,
you have a listing again of what the tabs, the title of the tabs were?
Mhm. I will look at my own. I could go back in my slides, but I won't. The first one is thoughts and impressions. And I can put this in the comments too on the event page. The second one is activities. That would be for what we, the 4 activities I suggested today. The third one is your joy journal. So that's where you're going to hopefully every day write something good. Now, I probably will not because I have my own joy journal in another notebook. I will just continue that practice of writing in that space. And if you have that practice yourself, you can just continue doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Unless you want to put it in here, so it's all together. That would be up to you. The next one is this stuff works. And I put an exclamation mark. So she wants you to start noticing things out in your life. If we're going to be changing the way we think and our belief system and interrupting certain patterns, then we want to see how that manifests out in our world around us.
Okay.
And then the last one is self-talk.
Okay.
Which I guess you could put some of those activities in that last section, but that would be, maybe, and I have done this. I have another group I had worked with. I was one of the participants. They suggested we do the junk journal. Just one notebook and whatever crap that you're thinking about a particular topic, just dump it all in that book. And then afterward, either, and I think we've spoke about this already, tear it up, burn it, throw it away, whatever. So that last section would be for you to, your own personal awareness of what's going on in your brain.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I'm so grateful that you jumped on with me. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. It really piqued my interest. I was really curious about it.
Good. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for since spring when I got this book, because I did see her in the spring. I think it was in March. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this book. I want to share this with people. So I just finally, yeah, and go to her website. Her website is fantastic. She's got 3 downloadable, what does she call them? Brain binaural, where it goes in the background. She'll have she's saying 2 different things in 2 different each ear, and so it's like a subconscious thing. She has 3 free downloads there that I just really, really like a lot. So really check out her space. I am actually paying every month to have access to her classes and stuff, and she does a Monday recording and Monday live discussion. Oh my God, they're fabulous. She does a podcast, which I think her podcast might be free and available to everybody. But yeah, she's got some wonderful, wonderful neuro tools that she gives you to help break patterns and pattern interrupts to stop what's going on in your brain and allow you to change direction, like right in the moment. It's
I'm reading.
really
I'll
good
take
stuff.
I'm reading this book right now. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Switch on Your Brain
Yeah. I think I've heard of that before.
by Dr. Carolyn Leaf.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did read that like in June or something. I read that. I actually use that as a basis for a talk.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
an
reading it right
awesome
now.
book. Yep, she is fabulous. She's got that TED Talk too.
Oh, does she? She has a yeah.
Yep, she has
Okay.
a TED Talk so look for her. Yeah, she's great. Real eye opening as well. So good stuff out there. And my friend, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, Lori. So let me stop and share. So, oh, hey, Darla, you're there too. I just saw you. Hey, how you doing, girl? When I'm sharing my screen, I can't see who else is on there unless they pop up. But I'm going to stop the recording. So I'm going to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. But you ladies don't leave. Okay, we'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye.